So I was having breakfast the other day, a breakfast consisting of eggs, cereal, and giraffe. Not real giraffe, of course. It was a tofu-based substitute that they call tofu-raff. I developed a taste for the meat many years ago while working as a freelance giraffe herder in Ireland. It didn't go so well. Work was kind of slow, though I did spend many months at a wonderful ranch in Carrickfergus. It's just off the A1 from Belfast. If you get near Whitehead, you've gone too far. So just as I was finishing up my second helping, I like to have a big breakfast, I noticed at the corner of my eye in my most recent copy of Guns and Ammo, which I buy for the gardening column, that there was an article on a special exhibition of the only known Pig Latin edition of Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, and the book was being put on display at the local Russian embassy that very night. Now, this book should be familiar to any scholar of Pig Latin and 19th century Russian literature. It was written, we believe, by Count Theodore Franklin, known to his friends as Teddy, but known to the police as the Fifth Street Slasher. We didn't find out until much later that this was, in fact, a very clever nickname because he'd never been to Fifth Street. This allowed him to continue his reign of terror on every other street, completely unimpeded by the understandably befuddled police and their ever-increasing and patently useless security precautions. Now, I say we believe he wrote this because he was the most prolific Pig Latin author of the latter 18th century. In fact, I have here his translations of the Odyssey and the Iliad, the entire Shakespeare canon, and Growing Up, a book for boys, for which I was the highest bidder when it came up at Sotheby's in their silly language literature auction. I won't disclose how much I paid, but I will say that unfortunately the purchase made it impossible for me to bid on a copy of Nicholas Nickleby written entirely with the letter A. But my love of Pig Latin won out over my interest in typography, and I'm still happy with the purchase. Now, Pig Latin aside, as a charter member of the Amateur Aeronautics and Leo Tolstoy Appreciation Club, getting to see this book in person was an opportunity I could not afford to pass up. And luckily, as it happens, I was scheduled to be at the Russian embassy later that evening anyway, on totally uninteresting, unrelated government business. Now, you may be wondering what amateur aeronautics and Leo Tolstoy have in common. Well, it's actually rather an interesting story. My father, the Kenyan Air Force pilot, upon retiring from service, started many civic organizations here in town, two of which were the Amateur Aeronautics, which makes sense for a former KAF captain, and Leo Tolstoy, which was an interest he'd picked up once while on leave in Chile. He often spent his leave in South America, and they're all big fans of Tolstoy down there. The full stage musical adaptation of War and Peace, performed in Spanish by a troupe of dedicated Chileans, is something you really have to see to believe. So in any case, what he and I noticed is that most of the same people who were involved in the amateur aeronautics were the same people who showed up for the LTAC. So we combined the two clubs, and everything's worked out swimmingly since then. Being able to discuss the themes prevalent in The Death of Ivan Ilyich one minute, and the amount of drag on a 2-axis Eurostar microlight the next, is a wonderful way to spend your Tuesday evenings. So anyway, the end result of the night was I knew that the book had to be a part of my collection. However, the owner was very reluctant to part with it. But I made him a very persuasive offer, and after some unfortunate unpleasantness, I returned home one book richer. The members of the AALTAC were pretty green that week, I can tell you.